Technologies. Welcome you to another of our webinar series. This time we're going to be talking about managing your bandwidth and how to effectively analyze your needs. And on today's call, I've got Michael Thompson, Regional Sales Director for Paytech. Hello, Michael. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. Good to be here.
And I've got John Flaherty, our VP of Sales from Evolve as well here, just taking some of the questions and helping us along the way. Good to have you again, John.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone.
So, Michael, obviously, you come to us from Paytech, is the organization you're with, correct?
That is correct.
So tell us a little bit about Paytech and who you guys are.
Sure, Dave. Thank you. Paytech is probably one of the largest CLECs in the United States, yet in a lot of regards we're one of the least known because we don't do a lot of public advertising. A lot of our business is done through word of mouth or through references, but we've slowly grown to a size that allows us to scale very nicely for clients throughout the U.S. We are headquartered in Rochester, New York. We're publicly traded. We have approximately 4,000 employees. We were proud last year we did $1.6 billion in revenue, and we're currently operating in about 83 markets throughout the U.S., 83 of the top 100. So it gives us great scale in terms of assisting locations that have multi-location opportunities throughout the U.S.
Well, I mean,
the next slide, Mike.
Yeah, the next slide here.
Sure. Yeah, just to give I think it's important, Dave, when we first came up with this, to make sure that the folks that were on the call and were viewing this were given some idea of the sales scope of Paytech and what we can offer. So I just wanted to spend just a few minutes detailing some of the size and capacity, but really getting to the meat of this, which is how to do a network assessment. So some of this company overview is going to talk to the amount of voice and data switches we have, just to give some viability to our network. But more importantly, I'd like to make sure we stay focused on the educational aspect of this webinar.
Oh, absolutely. So you work with a lot of partner companies then too as well, right? Like companies like Evolve?
That's correct, Dave. And in this marketplace, Evolve is one of our stronger partners in that because Evolve has so much experience on the network side when it comes to the LAN infrastructure and management of the LAN for an organization, we partner ideally with an organization like that because we handle everything from the router outside, basically. So whenever we have a chance to talk to an organization like Evolve and a customer, when we can put those three people in a room, it's a far more effective meeting because we can not only understand the business needs of the organization from the business owner or the business themselves, but with Evolve at the table, we're able to then understand how they're utilizing the network today and what possible improvements we can make by partnering with the organizations.
Gotcha. So let's talk a little bit about really how you guys generally, you view the market. Obviously, we want to talk a little bit about you. I mean, you're sort of the unknown quantity in the market space, and that's one of the reasons why we like working with you. And I wanted to sort of point out the slide for you here. You guys are really not you're not going out there with the same kind of messaging, but are really known among your customers, right?
That is correct, and Dave, you bring up a good point because we have focused, because we do just business-to-business communications, we're not going to be a business-to-consumer place. So a lot of the customers, or I'm sorry, the companies you see on the slide are going to be more well-known because they have a wireless play or a residential play. With us being just a business-to-business provider, we look at organizations like yourself as a business leader in the marketplace, as a partner organization. We look at our customers with referrals, and then we have the ability to directly go out and meet folks as well to identify opportunities. This slide is a nice one to put up here to that point, Dave, because we're not as well-known, because our advertising is more focused on the business community, of a Net Promoter Score. And this is actually a third-party organization that went through and did a sampling of customers throughout the U.S. Pardon me. And the Net Promoter Score basically gives them a response of 1 through 10. Anyone who rated us a 9 or higher was a positive score. And you can see by this that almost 23% of the people that were interviewed gave us a 9 or higher, which is a very strong proponent of who we are as an organization when it comes to partnering with our clients. There's some very well-known organizations on here, too, that did okay, but I really stand behind that 22.7 as a very high watermark for service in this industry.
Well, I like this too because I mean it points to sort of the similarities between Evolv and Paytech, and one of the reasons why we like working with you guys is we're also business to business only. We don't have the capacity to serve home users. They're great people, but that's not our focus. And I like working with companies that focus on doing a couple of things really well, and you guys focus on that business to business space. So let's talk a little bit about kind of how you best engage. And how we really, again, we're talking about bandwidth, and we're talking about helping customers and potential customers and people out there in small business really do more with their connections. So how do you really best engage to help them understand what their needs are?
Well, Dave, I think it goes back to putting the right people in the room. And when we talk about a network assessment, it really has to start with a macro view, and I think we've included in this a network assessment kind of approach. And there's really a 5-pronged approach to it, and it starts with. And thank you, Dave. This is the slide I was referring to. It starts with putting Evolv, the client, and Paytech in the room and talking about how their business runs. There's organizations out there today, and you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who isn't in a situation where they're looking to get more out of their current infrastructure. And one of the things we'll talk to when we talk about the real-life examples, Dave, is that it's not always throwing more bandwidth at it that solves the business need. It's about understanding what direction the business is going and how to better network with the current infrastructure or gain efficiency with what you currently have. Again, throwing bandwidth on an issue isn't always the right answer. So once we have a high-level discovery session, then we move into more of an analysis phase where that intelligence that Evolv brings to the table with the current infrastructure helps us really understand what we can and cannot do in terms of plugging in and accessing them to the outside world most efficiently. Obviously, recommendations are going to be. I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
I was just saying. Okay, so that makes sense. So we're analyzing where they're at and trying to figure out what the pieces are that they have in order to figure out what we can do maybe with what they have, or reconfigure what they have, or see if they have maybe too much or too little, right?
That's exactly right. What we've seen, and we'll talk to this a little bit more when we get into one of the examples, but it's not always about throwing new bandwidth or new hardware in there. It's understanding what you currently have, and are you maximizing the potential of that current LAN or WAN infrastructure? Can you use it more efficiently? Is there ways that you can download differently? Is there a way that you can look at kind of demand managing your bandwidth? Is there certain mission critical applications that can be backed up at down periods instead of during the business day? There's a lot of things that don't require any cost that can be discovered during that discovery and analysis phase. It's when we get into this recommendation phase that we're trying to recommend the most cost-effective yet scalable solution for an organization. Dave, I don't have to tell you or John that I've sat with many folks that have said, I don't want to have to recreate the wheel every 12 months. I want to make sure that the solution we choose allows me a good 3 to 5 year window depending on what happens with my organization. And we can appreciate that. So that plays a lot into how we make a recommendation.
Right, and this isn't just about data too, right? We can look at the voice and all of it as an integrated solution.
Yeah, and again, Dave, when we talk bandwidth, in this day and age with so many people wanting to look at how voice traffic can be deployed over bandwidth connectivity, it makes sense for a company like Paytech, who can handle voice, data, and other solutions revolving around the outside world with connectivity and networking, to look at how can we maximize the connections that you have, whether they be strictly voice today and strictly data. If they're segregated, how can we kind of make them dynamic and allow them to work smarter for your organization?
Gotcha. So also, when we're looking at this, we're trying to take the holistic piece of it. Let's talk a little bit of sort of the tactics of it. What is the involvement from a customer or a potential customer, somebody who's interested in going through the network assessment process? What are the deliverables that they're going to need to be involved with? What do they have to provide, really, in order to, and what questions are you going to ask?